Okay, so overnight this has set reasonably well. There's still a little moistness just in the ribs themselves, so this is going to take another day or two because I really want it to set very, very hard indeed, but it's well on the way. So in terms of preparing the text blocks for the restoration, this is there. So I'm actually going to, there we go, we'll take this, put it to one side, and it can continue on its drying journey. We are going to need one of these dumbbells shortly, so I'm just going to leave that one there. Okay, so now we're in a position to start to think about the boards. I did sort of examine these book plates, and I even tried to think about, could I get another sheet of paper underneath them, and did they want to come away? But they're both pretty stuck firm. And there's going to have to be a little bit of compromise here. George Nugent is the really significant historical figure. So we really do want to preserve this, and this label will not come off. Howard Wilford Bell was a pretty small time publisher, actually, 120, 130 years ago. All due respect to him, this label's probably going to get covered. So I think what we're going to end up with is we have to use this board because we want to preserve this. Eventually there'll be a paste down that probably just has a square hole in it, so this shows through, but this will be covered. So if we're going to use this board, we have to think about what we're going to do with it. This currently already has some holes and twine where the previous attachment points were, and these match the new twine that we actually have on the text block. So I'm going to want to try and reuse these holes. So in effect, what's going to happen over here is we're going to take off a strip of this leather here on this edge, and frankly it's very degraded anyway, so that won't be any great loss. But the real problem we face is this corner. In fact, all of the corners are damaged to some extent, but this one is probably the most egregiously damaged. One of the things that I learned from the Restoration of General Dana's book was, it's not, you can kind of get away with it, but if the actual board itself is heavily degraded, looking to the leather to sort of make that up by doing a sort of leather quartering and stuffing the leather with papier-mâché, it only kind of half works. You see that's not perfectly square there because there's no board underneath this corner here, it's just leather and papier-mâché. So, and we certainly won't be able to get away with it with this. So we're going to have to do something. So here's the method I'm going to attempt to do. Never done this before, so this is an experiment. So what I have here are some ingredients. A whole bunch of shims, and I'll come to those in a moment. First off, I'm going to use this sort of old piece of card here as a level surface, and I'm actually going to put 2 layers of, there we go, just 2 layers of absorbent toweling on top here. Then what I'm going to do is, with the board located like this, I'm going to attempt to create a frame for the board. So what that's going to look like is, and this is where the shims come in. The beauty of these shims is they're tapered, which means if I put 2 together, I can actually adjust them by sliding along, against one another to get the perfect thickness that I want. And so that enables me to actually create a border here that's exactly the right height to match. Actually, you can do it this way. There we go. There's actually the right height to actually match this. And I have a whole bunch of differing thicknesses here, so maybe slightly better. Yeah, like so. And you can then do the same thing, basically, here. By sliding this up, you get to a situation where all of a sudden you've created a perfect, let's put this one under here for support. You create a perfect shape that you want the board ultimately to be. You see, this one might be slightly better. Yes, that's what I'm after. Yeah, that's perfect. Then the plan is I'm going to basically create a form of papier-mâché and glue. So this is, I know I've mentioned this in the previous playlist, this is basically your good old-fashioned Charmin Ultra mixed with school glue. And if you just mix them aggressively, you end up just with this gunk. And this bit's going to be messy. I've never done this before, so we're going to see if we can make this work. So the first thing I'm going to do is just put some glue down into the structure so that, you know, sort of capillary reaction just draws it deeper in. Just sort of separating out some of the fibres. There's no two ways about it. This is going to be out of focus. I'm quite close to the phone here, but I'm trying to... Oops. Like so. And then we're going to continue to build out this corner with this papier-mâché. Now the other thing is, of course, this is actually a lot thinner than the rest of the board. So this is going to be a three-dimensional, it's basically sculpting. It's a three-dimensional shape that I'm attempting to create here. I don't want that bit of gunk. I have a very good friend on Cape Cod who's a sculptor. And if he were to watch this, he would go, "What the hell are you doing?" For sure. But needs must. Okay. So the aim is to build out this form. It ain't going to be perfect. The aim is to create something that's approaching like a proper right angle, you know? Get a bit more fag gunk going here. I'm sure there are implements I could be using for this that would do a much better job. So I've got it there or thereabouts. Now what I'm going to do is put it on this toweling and slide it back into this form that I've made here. Actually, I need to, there we go. So you can see I don't have a perfect right angle there clearly. So I'm going to continue the process here with the rest of my gunk. And I'm going to use the shims to act as a, like so. Oops. It's all fingers and thumbs, this, literally. Okay, this is totally experimental. It'll either be a triumph or a disaster. Then what I'm going to do is put these on. Yeah, they will stick. We know that. But more to the point, there's relatively low humidity weather at the moment. So what's going to happen is this toweling will actually draw the moisture out of the glue and help it to set. And that's important because there's very little scope for any kind of air circulation here once I cover this. So, but we do need the glue to actually sort of dry out. So I set it like that. Then I'm going to put a couple more shims now, this time actually on the book. And this is just to create a platform that's hopefully level for the compression, which is going to be provided by this 25-pound weight. And here we'll see there. We'll come back in a day and see whether any of this has worked.